first of all just get your thoughts on the game at the weekend?
Thoughts on the game, just very, very disappointed with the outcome. After having the start that you have, you've put yourself in a position to very much win the game, and irrespective of events from the 21st minute onwards, the sending offs had a massive contribution towards the outcome. And it's something now that in the last couple of games, or last 3 games we've had 2-0 leads in big games and had men sent off at critical moments, and it's something that, as any team would imagine, you have to eradicate that. You have to eradicate the ill discipline. The ill discipline is not good.
He's apologised on social media, Curtis Weston. It's quite out of character for him. What did you make of the actual incident itself?
I'm not going to, the incidents are the incidents. They are what they are. It is totally out of character for Curtis. That's 100% what we're all in agreement of. But it's happened now, and we have to move on to the Wrexham game.
Collectively, could the players and staff and everyone have managed the situation better from 2-0 up when you did go down to 10 men?
On Monday after the Saturday, of course you can, but this is lads now who've had a fantastic season to date, who are used to winning, and the last week we probably had more disappointment in a week than they've had in the rest of the season, so we have to learn to manage that disappointment.
In terms of the team overall, how happy are you with the way the team is playing, and is it something that you're going to look to adjust over time in terms of tactics and formation and all that kind of stuff?
Well, at the minute, as you can imagine, we've come into a schedule of games now which goes from Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I think there's no one's getting away with the weather in England at the minute, which is absolutely horrendous for everyone. So the reality for the lads, we're very much recovering and going again. Within that, which is quite well documented, we're obviously picking up injuries and we're getting suspensions. So as you could imagine, it's not a very easy ride at the minute. But somewhere along the line, we'll get some sanity in the building.
Well, just to follow up on Jack McCourt, clearly a big moment and whatnot. How's the injury looking?
Again, until we get the full diagnosis of it, we probably won't be commenting as much as we should. It was obviously not a good injury for Jack, which is so disappointing. And it's something, again, you have to go through the procedure now of scans. With Cabby the week before, he's now had his operation. Obviously, we'll see the prognosis of what Jack's injury is and looks like. It obviously doesn't look very good as we speak, so we'll just watch this space.
Do you know if it's a break or anything yet, Paul?
At the minute, we don't think it's a break. We think it's ligament damage. But again, I don't want to comment on stuff that I'm not 100% sure about.
I mean, just generally, can you quite believe the injury situation at the club right now? It was difficult, clearly, when you walked in, and then you've lost 2 of your big players in your first few games. Again,
if you go back to the Stockport game where we lost Kroll, who's a big player, it is what it is. The club and, from the ownership of the club, the chairman, we've put a great squad. Unfortunately, a lot of our squad are sitting in the stands watching the games with our fans, and that's disappointing. But that's the reality of where we're at. There'll be no sympathy from any of our competitors towards where we're at. And that's something we have to accept, and we get on with it, we knuckle down and we just keep going.
Is there anyone likely to be back from injury in terms of the treatment list over the next few weeks?
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I understand all you guys have jobs to do. I really do get that. My job, as you can imagine, not to debate and, go through every injured player, etc. We've got an amount of players available for tomorrow night, and we're going to work our hardest to try and win the game.
You've obviously brought Tom Whelan back to the club. Is there a potential that you could seek to bring in other reinforcements now, particularly with the extra injuries that you've got?
Again, I'll speak with John this morning, as we do most days. The club are very, very sympathetic to what the supporters want, as you can imagine. The criteria for the club, like a lot of other clubs, is to try and be promoted and get back in the Football League. Obviously, the injury situation is not what anybody envisaged or anybody wants, and it's something that we have to manage at the minute from day to day. I'm sure if there was an option available to bring in to help the squad, I'm sure the board would look at that very, very sympathetically, but it's something that we must identify and have a target to bring in before we can speak about it.
Is that something you're actively looking to do, Paul?
I'm actively looking to do a million things at the minute, as you can imagine. So it's very much been I can't say it's a baptism of fire, but it has, again. So, we'll just keep going. We just keep managing every situation. You know, everyone at Chesterfield wants the same outcome at the end of the season. At the minute, the road looks very bumpy. Hopefully we can make it a bit more stable as we go along in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, Tom Whelan seems to be a big character to bring back in at this stage. You know, he's somebody that clearly gets the club, understands the club, and can fit straight into the team.
Yeah, 100%. I think the team's had a style of play and an identity, which is obviously being stretched and tested at the minute with the injuries. But Tom's very accustomed to what goes on at Chesterfield Football Club. He was a very popular member of the dressing room before he went to Eastleigh. So obviously he just comes back into that dressing room, and that's great for all the players involved.
Wrexham up next, clearly one of several teams that you'd like to keep at arm's length right now. What are you expecting from them as a challenge? I
think the standard of the league is very impressive for everyone to see. The amount of coaching that goes on now from St George's Park, that's filtering down through all the leagues, is clearly evident. Teams are very, very well organised, very well set up. They've got a very, very experienced manager in Phil Parkinson, a good manager, a good guy. He'll know his team, he knows exactly what he wants out of his team. So they've got a very safe pair of hands at the wheel. Within that, they've got some very good players. They had an excellent come from behind win on Saturday. And again, they'll be coming tomorrow night, backed by good support. It'll be a great atmosphere and a game that I'm sure everyone's looking forward to.
Have you come across Phil much in your career so far? Had a few battles with him so far?
Yeah, plenty of times with Phil. I've stood on the touchline plenty of times with Phil. He's obviously took the Wrexham job after Sunderland, and he's doing a fantastic job. Wrexham, like no different than one or two of the other teams that are probably chasing Stockport than it was Chesterfield. You know, are all looking with their eyes on promotion. You know, you can go right down to a really low league position at the minute to see teams that'll still feel the playoffs are achievable. You know, at the minute it's managing ourselves, you know, which is very much the most important thing, and getting us on a pathway that we see will take us where we want to be.
Does it show the strength of the National League that the likes of yourself and Phil have been willing to come down and take jobs to try and get teams back in the Football League?
Again, I can't speak for anybody, any other managers. That's not my sort of thing. I think my reasons for coming here was basically because of my love for Chesterfield Football Club. So I can only speak about myself. You know, I can't speak about other managers and what they'd be willing to do or not do. Clearly, for me, there was an opportunity when Chesterfield needed someone. You know, and I couldn't just turn me back on them at that time. So that's my story.